welcome to the season finale of You Say Maize, I Say Blue. I am your host, Chris Cichon, joined last time of the year, Danny Sass. Danny, been a long journey. We're finally
It's been a fun junior year for us. Good thing we'll be back next year, though.
One more left. So
we're all good.
Now, heading into the last show, let's jump right into it. Busy week, as always. Danny, you can go ahead and say Maize. I'm going to say Blue, as in maybe if Memphis was wearing those blue jerseys, they'd have better luck at the free throw line on Monday night.
You can go ahead and say Blue. I'm going to say Maize, as in I am amazed that you can be a top-ranked college basketball program and not hit your free throws down the stretch. Call it players choking in the clutch. Call it coaching errors. You got to make your free throws. I've been saying it all year long. It was their crutch all season.
Well, hey, the coach thought it wasn't important, huh?
It came back. It came back, and it bit them when it mattered. That leads us to our first topic, Chris Cichon, a fantastic national championship game between the Kansas Jayhawks and the Memphis Tigers. I mean, how big was that three from Chalmers?
Wow, it was huge.
How impressive was this performance from the Jayhawks, especially in the clutch?
This was a game for the ages. When you think, I mean, back and forth. You had Memphis up first, then Kansas, then Memphis, then Kansas takes it right back at the end. Game for the ages. Mario Chalmers, a shot for the ages. This coming 20 years to the day after Kansas won the title 20 years ago, back with Larry Brown.
Danny Manning and
Danny Manning, the star player back then. But, oh, man, Chalmers, what a game. He had 18 points. Great defense. He played in that backcourt against Chris Douglas Roberts, a great battle they had going all day. And then I think the key matchup in that first half, Derrick Rose got shut down.
Yeah.
A lot of that had to do with Sharon Collins coming off the bench for Kansas. He played great defense off of him, great ball skills on the D. And as Rose went, I think Memphis went. You saw that. Rose had 14 points in the second half. Memphis got back into the game. But things happened at the end of the game there in that free throw line.
Well, you know, obviously the free throw woes. You also got to point to something like the rebounding difference. Kansas out-rebounding Memphis by 10, and you look at this Memphis team.
Great big man rotation.
You look at, but with Memphis, too, you got to look at a guy like Joey Dorsey.
Well,
you look at players like Robert Dozier.
Big men got worn down.
I look at those big guys, and all year long they've been such rocks in the post for this Memphis team. They have the guard play. They have the guys in the post. There's really no weaknesses for this team. And then you look at a guy like Dorsey, who's averaging almost 10 rebounds a game. He had 2 last night. Yeah. Arthur, 10 for Kansas. Darnell Jackson, 8 for Kansas, completely dominating the paint. When you dominate the paint and you have that advantage on the glass, that's something Michigan struggled with, and needless to say, they didn't put up too many W's this year. Obviously, a post presence helps, and Brandon Rush, that defense extending on Rose, I mean, it got the job done for the Jayhawks, and they really showed they can play.
I think that rotation, they had 4 guys with Aldrich and Kahn coming off the bench. It makes a big difference, a whole lot fresher at the end of the game, especially in overtime when you definitely saw Arthur and Jackson take over on the boards and on scoring down low. But like you said, the free throws killed it. I mean, John Calipari, this whole tournament going through almost with his chin held high and letting all the the talk and the criticism go underneath him and say, you know what, we'll let our play talk. We're not even going to have to shoot free throws. Well,
it got him.
He didn't think they did. They were up 9 with 2
and that almost was iced.
They almost had it, and he said it. They left it. They let it slip out of their hands. They should have won the title. I agree with them.
And Mario Chalmers joining the ranks at Keith Smart. You got the whole Derek Wittenberg, Charles play for NC State in '83, up there with one of the greatest shots we'll ever see. Yep.
Danny, what do you keep talking about March Madness because the tournament was so good this year?
Well, I certainly don't want to stop. We saw obviously the championship game was fantastic, but best player for me, Stephen Curry.
Oh, by far.
You as
he
well.
Has to be. What was it, 35 points a game over here? Scoring he had. It really broke out. Just a sophomore, keep in mind. So hopefully we'll see him in the tournament again a year from now.
And this is a kid who's only a sophomore, so we have him again, junior year,
and
probably
I think
a season
Davidson,
year as well.
Davidson was really a team that really jumped out at you, just like in '06, George Mason. I think Davidson, though, if Curry's staying, they're going to be back on the national
that's
going
to be a pretty solid team.
In the weak conference, give them some quality non-conference opponents in November, December. They should be right back.
And this is the team that played UCLA tight. They played Duke tight. They played UNC tight. So they showed they can battle the big boys. They had Kansas on the ropes. This is a Kansas team that ended up winning the whole thing, obviously. And Davidson was a final possession that was run pretty poorly away from upsetting that Kansas team. And I use the word upset lightly because Davidson showed they really can play with anybody. That's a top team. Best game, obviously, the championship game was great. The Western Kentucky Drake game.
That was huge. The Ty Rogers
shot.
That was awesome. That was just an amazing shot.
Cool.
That's what the tournament's all about right there. Great shots, a couple of them. With
and
the Chalmers
San
one on Monday.
San Diego over UConn was another great game.
That was another big one. How about the Final Four, Danny? I mean, the 2 games, not the championship game, the 2 Final Four games, horrible games. Just complete blowouts.
You can call them horrible games. I loved watching Kansas run all over UNC in the first half.
40-12.
And I loved seeing Memphis's athleticism, especially because this is a Memphis team where a lot of people have said, oh, they don't play anybody. They don't play anybody. Well, UCLA is somebody. And they straight took it to UCLA.
Yeah, they did.
So I got a kick out of watching Memphis silence the critics in that first national semifinal. and I just absolutely loved the Jayhawks rolling all over the
I
Tigers.
cannot believe how North Carolina just completely came out on Saturday night and laid an egg. They
Yeah.
looked so good in the first 4 games
Yep.
coming into San Antonio, and then they just blew it. They just were
Awful.
not going anywhere. It looked like Kansas was the team that was, near the top of the polls all year. And keep in mind, Kansas only lost 3 games all
Yep.
year. It's a
That's
very
a
good
good team.
I thought Kansas and UCLA were overlooked all year, and that's why I had them even in the championship game.
Kansas again in 09. Arthur back, Chalmers back, Collins back,
Yeah.
Rush, and Aldridge off the bench. Who
Aldridge
impressed.
is McDonald's All
Could
American.
be a repeat. We'll
gonna
see.
be good.
We're gonna move it on from basketball to the Olympics. Starting the torch relays, only one stop in the United States this year en route to the Beijing Olympics. That is in San Francisco. That started this week amidst protests. We saw them overseas in Paris and London. We're seeing them home here. Well, not home, but in the United States in San Francisco. Should the United States boycott the Olympic Games, Chris?
Well, you're bringing a lot of politics in the show, and this is a sports show. I don't like that, but I'll answer your question. I don't think
Okay.
they should. I think, personally, if you don't agree with what's going on over there, then boycott it. That's never going to happen. The United States has way too much money into the Olympics program. There's no way they're going to hold their athletes back. And what we're hearing from IOC President Jacques Rogue, we're hearing that other countries feel the same way. There's just too much money going into these games, too much preparation. They're not going to give up their spots, so there's not even a momentum yet for a boycott. But if it's me, I'd say don't go. But Danny, that's not going to happen.
No, see, Hillary Clinton already called for a boycott for the opening ceremony. Here's the way I look at it. Politics aside, the Olympics are the one time a year for 2 weeks, one time every 4 years, or you can call it 2 years if you want to throw the Winter Olympics in that mix as well, where all nations, regardless of international tensions, regardless of disputes, can just put everything aside politically and have 2 weeks of pure, unadulterated fun. Athletes, young kids, some of these Olympic athletes, 16, 17 years old kids, legitimately enjoying themselves on a national stage for what could be the first time ever. If you're a kid, an 18, 19-year-old kid, and this is your one shot at the Olympics, you don't want to pass that up over some political debate that you have absolutely no stake in. Let these kids, let these athletes play, and protest again when the games are done, and all the.
In the perfect world, that's what we should do, and that's what would probably happen. But it's not going to happen like that. I mean, first of all, this goes way back years ago when they decided to have the Olympic Games.
The
IOC just made this huge mistake doing this in the first place, and now they're paying the price for it. All these protests going on all over the world. It's ridiculous. All over just. This stuff, and it's hurting the Olympics, a pride that it seems like the world has in sports. It's like a, more of a coming together of the world, if you will, on the sports landscape. But
well, we will see.